So I'm out walking my dog, and I see one of my neighbors come out to get his mail or something, and I caught him on his way back inside the house, I think. But we didn't make eye contact at first. I waved at him, and I looked away because I didn't think he saw me, and then I turned back. I glanced back, and I think he caught the tail end of my wave and put up his hand to wave and saw that I wasn't looking anymore, and so he did one of these. Uh, anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit today about some deep shit. So let me start off with this story. When I was about, I think I was a junior in high school at this point. I was a junior in high school, star football player on the varsity football team, and a representative of our school for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. And, you know, if you're like me, if you were born to Korean parents and they either moved to the States or were already living here when you were born, and chances, or I guess even just with that, the fact that you are of Korean descent and that you're living in America, chances are that you went to a Korean church. So anyway, that was my background. I grew up going to church. And so it was just natural to me in school. There was a thing called the Fellowship of Christian Athlete. I was an athlete. I was a Christian. I was like, let's join this fellowship. And I remember in one of the FCA meetings, the Fellowship of Christian Athlete meetings, I don't remember the exact topic of discussion that led to this, but I remember I had this moment and I was literally beating my head against the wall because I could not understand for the life of me how a God, you know, according to the story that I've been told, how a God that would set up the system so that if you didn't believe in his son Jesus as a savior, you would go to hell forever. And that got me thinking about all the people that lived in countries that missionaries were never going to get to. I think that was the topic of discussion, missionary work, and how good it was. So the idea was, in my head, all these people that have been born and died and they had never received even an inkling, a single idea of the story of Jesus that's told in the Bible, and therefore would have no capability, possibly, to come to believe that this guy named Jesus went through all the stuff that he did, performed all these miracles, and therefore was justified in assuming the role of Son of God. And then believed in him so that they can go to heaven instead of hell when they die. And at that point in time, the thought was just, this is absolutely the most unfair thing I've ever heard of in my life. And I think it was that realization, to be quite honest, that kind of started a downward slide in my overall achievement level. I think up to that point, I had been a very good boy and was doing, did everything that I was told. I was getting good grades. I, again, was a star football player. Things were good. But I think this, doubting of the faith, this stepping away from Christianity was something that had to happen in order for me to become who I am today, in order for me to grow into myself. And I'm not sure if that type of maturation could have happened in me had I stayed within the confines of the belief system of Christianity. I think the downward slide that I was talking about, I think of course it's natural, I think. If you're not rooted by something, it's easy to get caught up. I mean, it's a wild, perfect soup of ingredients, right? I was a teenage boy. I was going away to college. I didn't believe in God anymore. I was actually like very militantly atheist. I was very, very mad and upset at God or the idea of God at this point in time. And I think from that point till basically almost till I turned 40, I was living life just based on two things. What did I want? And what could I... But the problem with want when you're unrooted is that you are by everything but yourself. You are trying to get the preferred sex. Nothing could feel worse than being an incel in the mind of a young man, right? Why the term has like picked up such fire on people. Involuntary celibism. I say that like it's a religion, but the reason why it attracts so much attention is because it is such a sensitive spot for so many people, and I understand why. But yeah, so I was driven by chasing pussy and getting drunk. But the getting drunk was actually tied inextricably to the getting pussy part. And I think it ultimately boils down to I wasn't comfortable with who I was, and I didn't ever feel like I deserved to get what it is that I wanted to get. And so in order to be able to feel more comfortable in a situation where I was doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I would just get fucking blacked out. And this pattern of behavior, it was all okay in my mind as long as nothing bad happened, as long as nobody got hurt, as long as I was alive, as long as I wasn't breaking the law. In my mind, that those are all things that made my behavior okay. And the thing is I'm going to tell you that you seem to be doing okay. You've got these are external things. Other people can see about you and make their own judgment based on that. But for me personally, I think early adult life was spent in like a weird imposter syndrome where on the inside, the outsides didn't match the insides, but at the same time, my insides, I was confused about what I was on the inside. It's like I couldn't tell that there was a discrepancy. And, despite this all, like, Sierra was kind enough to stick with me throughout all those trying times of me acting a fool and not knowing what was up. But yeah, I think the reason why I'm making this video though is because the kind of grounding and just peace and comfort that I've been able to find in my life today is something that I, struggled long and hard for, even though I didn't know exactly what it was that I was looking for. And I think this is a pretty common experience for a lot of people, which is why I think this is going to resonate. And, the reason for this is I think it is tied to religion in that, these religions that we believe in that are, there are churches all over the country of different beliefs, different belief systems. And they all originate really from other cultures. The Korean culture and its adoption of Christianity, it's a whole other topic we can get into later. but the the fact that it was Christianity, I think, is something that helped Korean people. It was like one step closer to whiteness for them, which back before in the day what used to be the goal, kind of. But the fact of the matter is like all these belief systems that exist, they are rooted deeply in the cultural fabric of these different geographic areas that we all happen to be from. And I just personally, I don't think religion is doing anyone any favors in America as far as, big picture goes. I think it serves a great purpose in many individuals' lives because it does make sense and work for them, and it provides them the peace of mind that I've been trying to find myself. So it's hard for me to say that, we need to abolish all religions and take what people believe in with their whole heart away. That's not what I'm saying. It's more about identifying an opportunity and trying to fill that gap. And I feel like a big part of my misguided youth could have been avoided if this type of stuff were talked about more openly. I think as soon as you get into any type of religious or spiritual talk, there's a tendency for people to shut it off and not want to talk about it. But truly, with the rise of the awareness of consciousness, the awakening that's happening, this is it. Like everyone has the opportunity to come to the realization that you don't need a story as dictated by the fables and that our grandmas used to tell us when we were growing up. Like the story itself and the details of the story and who was involved, like that is not important. That's not the important part. The important part is the realization of who we are as individuals and what it is that we're doing on this earth. And that is not containable within a single story. The reason why these beliefs exist in all these cultures is because there is an innate human need to have this connection to source, yet, and that story was customized to the environments of the cultures that these religions sprang up in. But just like anything else, we've just outgrown it. Stories that tie us back to these cultures that we're no longer living in. And I think that's okay. I think a lot of the pain that we're feeling right now is just the separation of the cultural moment from the past. And obviously that's something that's happening constantly, but perhaps it's my age, perhaps it's the things that I'm interested in the moment currently, but that just really seems to be what's happening right now. And in the space that this vacuum creates, or in the space that's created by this vacuum, is a separation of culture, of like the current culture from the historical culture. I just want to make sure that I'm able to provide whatever I can as far as, I won't even go so far as advice because I can't tell you what to do. But just as far as sharing my experience and the fact that peace is real and achievable without religion, it just requires getting in touch with knowing who you are. And if you have questions about that or want to talk, I'm always open for it. The places that I've picked up the most information are from teachers like Ram Dass and Alan Watts, and I'm sure everyone's going to say the same stuff. It's not who the person is, though. It's about whether they're able to get the message through to your head. And the message can be said in all different sorts of ways, but the truth is always the same. The truth is we are all one. There is no fear required, like for our individual incarnations, our bodies. And I think that's just obviously like we need that fear in order to survive. But as long as we're able to then take that additional step, we've got our Maslow's hierarchy of needs squared away, that self-actualization that exists at the top of the hierarchy of needs, I'm telling you guys, like, we are right there. We are right there. Once we can understand that it's the stories and the fact that the characters in the stories have different names and they're eating different foods, that we think that's why one story's wrong and our story's right, that's bullshit. There's only one story, and we're all living it together. I love you. Bye.